Thank you so much, Rachel. How about it for Rachel? She's doing a great job at making sure that everybody is, engaged and a great introduction. So thank you very much for that, Rachel. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Angelica Villarta, and I myself am also an entrepreneur in the creative spaces. So I've been here in Nevada for about 30 years, and I've grinded the streets of Las Vegas as a talent scout, a producer, an organizer, kind of went through that whole entertainment journey as a third-generation musician from my father's side, from Cebu, actually. And so through that journey, it kind of led me to where I am today as an advocate for minoritized communities. It brought me to where I am today as somebody who wants to uplift those who have come before us or those who are on that journey for the next generation. So typically when we hear the word entrepreneur, we don't necessarily always think that we don't associate it, right, with entertainers or with those in the creative spaces. As Filipino Americans, we were born and raised and taught in our households that we needed to keep our head down. We needed to assimilate. We needed to, stick to the script and probably try and get as many degrees as we can in order to be successful. That's what success looked like for us, according to our parents. Well, that may have worked for some people, but the night is still young. It did not work like that, or does not work like that for all of us. And so tonight is really a great opportunity for me to introduce you guys to entrepreneurs who have really trailblazed their way through the creative spaces and redefined what entrepreneurship looks like for their industries. They were able to successfully, and they'll share with you that journey, successfully get to where they are by being brave, by being brilliant, and by being passionate and honest and authentic to who their true selves were. So, I'm going to turn on my phone right here because I want to make sure that I introduce everybody appropriately. But first, I would like to invite one of my friends up here on stage who has, this man, he's kind of, like I said about disrupting and changing and redefining traditional meanings, he has redefined and disrupted the traditional meaning of dance, performance, and entertainment. He is a global phenomenon. He's traveled all around the world. He was born in Guam. He went to California, now lives here in Vegas and is doing so much. And I like to give him a personal honorary title of the most impactful B-boy of all time. So please welcome to the space, Bboy Ronnie, Abaldonado. We need the music, right? And our next friend that's here today, wow, he takes us on journeys. He moves you through spaces that you never knew even existed. He's a creative producer, he's a visionary, and his talent begins behind the curtain, if you will. But he can he can bring our imaginations to life and take you all around the world and in spaces you've never even thought about. So please welcome our producer, storyteller, and animator, Fil Marc. This next person that we're going to bring up to stage has been a friend of mine for a couple of decades now, and his rise to stardom really began simply from a desire to move people, and to do that through music. And with his superhuman skills, he can kind of change the energy of a space or a room or your emotions with simply the drop of a beat or the chill of a hi-hat. And so, I'm really proud to bring up to the stage DJ Erock, Erock the Grandpa. What's your thought process so far on everything we've been talking about?
I would like to say that just hearing everyone's stories today, it's very inspiring. And I'm just a dancer. So hearing all you guys' stories is just groundbreaking to me, and I just loved it all.
You're not just a dancer. You know, I've been, when we were talking about it, we were saying that we've been in these spaces for so long, but I've been waiting a really, really long time to get people like you up in front of a camera and in front of the lights to show that, yeah, you guys are leaders. You guys are paving the way for a new world order, if you will, right? So, and I really want the audience to get to know you guys just a little bit more. Each of you has a very, very unique story. You guys, kind of years ago, when each of you started to explore your, and discover what your hobbies were, your talents were, there came a moment where you guys decided, each of you decided, you know what, I can probably actually make a career out of this. I could probably do this for the rest of my life. And you guys chose that moment during a very important time when we were going through this socioeconomic and interesting shift where people of color, well, people of our color, were not really seen in the spaces and in the industries that you represent. So I kind of want to go into that. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to put Fil Marc on the spot first. Fil Marc, you grew up, you know, as a really good boy.
I did.
You listened to your parents.
I was born in Hawaii, and my parents stressed the importance of education. And I was a really good student. I was a hard worker. I got straight A's. In middle school, I was second in my class. And in high school, in my class of 500, I was number 8, so I was top 10. So I could have become a doctor. My parents wanted me to become a doctor, but I had a quiet calling to become an artist. And I didn't think it was possible, and I mentioned this to you about, like, it was when I first saw The Little Mermaid, and for some reason in that movie, the credits are in the front, and I saw one of the lead animators was Ruben Aquino. I recognized it was a Filipino name, and that's when I realized that that can be a career option for me. So I told my parents that I wanted to go to art school. So that's where it all began. And besides that, I had a family friend who went to my high school 10 years before me, and he went to the same college that I ended up going to. And after he graduated, he went on to storyboard on Mulan. So that also plays the path for me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So in some branch of the multiverse, you're a doctor.
Yeah.
Is what we're, right?
Yeah. I often think about, like, the different paths I could have taken. And
yeah. And I think, so it was, how upset, all of us talk about, you know, the expectations of our elders and Filipinos and how we were raised. Did your family approve it at first?
They were willing to give it a chance.
I love that.
Because of people like Jules, who went on to board on Mulan. But I think they knew that if I had a fallback plan if it didn't follow through. And there have been times in my life where I questioned whether I went into the right career. Like when I graduated from CalArts, I didn't have an amazing opportunity to work for Disney. Like the industry was down at that period, and I questioned if I had made the right choice. So, in my career, I feel like perseverance and tenacity is very important. If you really love what you do, then you'll stick with it.
Mm-hmm. That's really, I think, in all of our industries, that grit, right, is so important.
Exactly.
So Erock, you know, wow, I remember the first night I met you, actually. And I was instructed to go to this club, meet this DJ from the Bay, and then wait till his set is over, take care of him, and then once he's done, take him to our meeting at Bellagio. That was like kind of the launch, really, of your career and what you were starting. And it's turned into this I would say magical. I love to use the word superhuman on you because you went from a place of you know, just grinding to being the one that's creating. And really leading this path of entrepreneurship using like transferable skills and, you know, weaving you're DJing yourself into the public sphere. So Tell us a little bit more about that.
This is work? All right. Yeah. So I've been a DJ on the Strip for maybe about a good 15 years. So yeah, that was about maybe a good 16, maybe 17 years ago that we connected. But just throughout my journey, like, you know, whether it was being on the radio in San Francisco to running nightclubs or anything, any skill that I learned, I always wanted to make sure that I could, you know, also use that skill on myself, whether it's like, you know, if I learned how to do PR, or if I learned how to do partnerships, or if I learned, you know, if there was anything that I learned through this space, like I wanted to make sure that I could also apply that to myself. And that's what I pretty much did, like, you know, throughout the years. I mean, today, you know, I'm pretty much like, you know, one of the longest tenured like open format guys like on, you know, on the Strip, you know, along with names like Vice and Eric Deluxe and the late DJ AM, you know, which is, it's really crazy. You know, I even said this on the Zoom call that I've never really got to like sit down and kind of look back on everything that I've done. But yeah, it's been quite a ride, you know, but, you know, again, I think it's so important, like, you know, to, like, whatever you do and whatever you invest your time into, like, you know, the return that you get, make sure that you can invest that into yourself. So.
Yeah, that's fair, and I feel like, you know, there's so many young people that are out there that are looking at becoming famous DJs and trying to change that space. And, you know, what are you seeing that you were going through that you might be seeing now, or for the next group coming in?
I see a lot of younger DJs, you know, that are trying to, like, you know, the term is get on. You know, that are trying to get booked, and when I see a lot of me in them, you know, and I always, you know, try to make sure that I share, like, you know, my journey on, you know, how many times I was told no, like, you know, on this, like, right down the street, there's a ton of people that told me no for many years, you know, before I got to where I am today, you know, and I want to make sure that, you know, just like, you know, yourself, like, you know, in your space, like perseverance and resilience and all that, like, it's all so important, you know, to have. And, you know, you need to have thick skin and be able to, you know, to embrace that no, but also know that you can turn that into a yes, no matter how much time it takes. If you really want it, you're going to get it. Yeah. So.
Thank you for that. And, you know, speaking of resilience and breaking boundaries and breaking borders, breaking B-boy, breaking. I'm going on to the next one. Did you guys catch that? So, you know, when Ronnie and I were kind of in that same space, and it was about the same time when you were DJing too. You know, we used to go to the clubs back in the day, and, you know, while everybody was all bougie and drinking champagne and all of this stuff at the casinos, we would just walk in with our little like velvet, you know, jumpsuits on with our Adidas shoes and walk right in like through security like it was nothing. And that was during it. It was crazy because that was a transition. We were going through a time when it was like Studio 54, right? And how, Ronnie, that had never been done before. It had never been done in the history of nightlife. And you kind of were in that group and in that world that kind of said no. Well, now you are. So what was that like in breaking those expectations and creating that space and that I guess, you know, redefining what entertainment means in the city of Las Vegas?
That was a lot. So all right, so I actually started breaking at a very young age. I started back in 1993. Moved here to Las Vegas in 94. So I was already dancing before I was even able to go to a lot of these clubs. I started a crew in 1995. This crew is called Full Force, and we were predominantly all Filipino. Actually, we were all Filipino. It was me, my older brother, and one of my really good friends who I still dance with today. And the cool thing is I'm celebrating my 30 years in breaking, and I never thought I'll be dancing for this long. I just turned 41 a few weeks ago.
Welcome.
So yeah, there was no industry for breaking, was my point. When I started, there was, you know, it was uncharted territory. You know, breaking wasn't even a thing in this industry. Now you have the Jabberwocky show, you have Cirque du Soleil, you have Magic Mike, and it's almost like a norm to at least have one b-boy. A b-boy is a breakdancer. To at least have one breaker in the show. But back then when we first started, it was just us kids practicing in our garage and just hoping that one day this could turn into something, which, by the way, breaking is now going to be in the Olympics. It got accepted to the 2024 Olympics in Paris, France. So fast forward, my crew, we created Super Crew. Some of the original members created Jabberwockies. Years after that, Jabberwockies won first season, Super Crew won second season. And then Jabberwockies got offered to do a residency show here at the MGM, which still exists today. So I think within that 30-year span, we've just been grinding, and everything just happened so quick. But I feel that just the consistency in doing it, and to what she was saying, that industry was built in Vegas, because what started off as us breaking in the garage, ended up turning into us just performing in a nightclub, people recognizing who we were. When he mentioned DJ AM, I used to work at a club called Body English at the Hard Rock Cafe, which is now Virgin Records, and DJ AM, who was a famous DJ back then, and Vice were our residency DJs while we were breaking. Fast forward 20 years later, we're here. We have a studio in town. There's all these shows that have breaking in it. Breaking got accepted to the Olympics. So I feel that just our ambition and just doing what we loved and just, staying determined got us to where we're at today.
Yes.
I hope that answered your question in a nutshell.
It did. It definitely did. And I feel like we're kind of leading into the next question and the next round of questions that we wanted to go into. We're talking here about the grit and the grind and the resiliency and overcoming things or dealing with things, really, that most people in most industries don't necessarily always get to deal with. And I'm going to bring Erock in on this next question, but last month, Erock, you posted something about what you had gone through in the past and how it impacted your mental health, and being able to unpack that trauma and deal with it, and then use it to keep you motivated and moving forward, which is a really, really brave thing to say. Can we just say thank you for Erock for sharing that, But can you tell us, are you in a space where you can tell us a little bit more about why you posted that and what that felt like? Or
Man, how much time do I have? No. I don't know what led me to do it. I remember opening up my Facebook messages from 2007, 2008. And it was me just talking to people, doing business and getting gigs. And I read a lot of criticism that I used to get. A lot of no's that I was told. I remember I used to run a nightclub in the Bay Area called Infusion Lounge. And when I first got the job as the entertainment director there, I remember even somebody messaging me something like, "Oh, that club's going to close in 8 months," and it was hurtful, to hear all these things, and to hear all this doubt and to experience somebody that just wants to see your downfall, but I kept on going, obviously that was in 2007. We're now in 2023, and things obviously have, turned out for the better. That club didn't last 8 months. That club actually lasted 10 years. And it's actually the most successful nightclub in San Francisco history, which is crazy to say today. But as I was reading those messages and taking myself down that rabbit hole of everything I've been through, I started to unpack a lot of things, and I was like, God, I went through so much just to kind of get here today. But what led me to get me here today? And a lot of that was just, I always wanted to make sure that I was remembered as somebody that was strong for my family, somebody that was resilient. I had lost my father in 2011. And, he's responsible for me being who I am today. He purchased my first set of turntables when I was 11 years old. I'm 44 in 6 days. you know. So like I wanted to honor him. I wanted to honor my grandfather. I wanted to honor, you know, my heritage, you know, and I wanted to make sure that wherever this went at that point, that, you know, when all this is done, that I'm remembered as, you know, being somebody that could let you know that it's possible. You know, that could let you know that, you know, hey, you know, if I look like you and I'm up here and I'm on the radio in LA and San Francisco and, you know, billboards all up and down the freeway here, you know, in Vegas, it's possible. Because I was told no forever, for a long time. According to them, I'm not supposed to be here. But with perseverance and a lot of hard work and me just owning my craft, like, you know, I'd like to say I made it, you know, and, you know, I want people to kind of like, you know, remember that, like, you know, it's like, no matter what you're going through, like, you know, there's always an out, like, you know, the easiest way is through it. And if you can get through it, like, you know, I'm telling you, like, there's a whole lot of life that's amazing to experience. It might be tough, but you'll get there. You just got to keep on going for it. That's it. Just keep on going. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Yes. Don't stop. Thank you for sharing that. You know, Ronnie, you kind of also, you know, mentioned a little bit something about that, but I'm going to add on to that a little bit, just because, you know, Ronnie, you deal with a lot of teens, a lot of children, a lot of parents. Are you seeing that there's more support coming from that? Like, have you seen a transition from what we used to go through and what you're going through and what they're going through?
Yeah, there's definitely a big transition, because when I started breaking 30 years ago, my parents didn't accept it at all. You know, typical Filipino parents wanted me to go to school, to be a nurse, to be an architect, whatever it was, doctor. But when I decided to pursue dance as my career after I graduated high school, and we were able to kind of turn what they didn't think was possible into something that became mainstream. Right. Now, this newer generation, I'm a little older now, so a lot of the parents of the students that come to our studio, they're my age. So their parents grew up watching us succeed on television, so now they're looking at their kids like, look.
Oh, Anak, you could do that too.
That's exactly what it is. And yeah, it's great because a lot of our kids are offsprings of my crewmates. So one of the guys who I went to high school with, he has 3 kids that are at our studio, and they travel, they battle with us, they win competitions. One of them actually just went to the Philippines yesterday, and he's going to stay there for a couple months just to check out the dance scene out there. So yeah, I feel like we're breaking boundaries right now, and it's just a different time where what we do is accepted.
No, that's strong. Thank you. So, you know, for all of those parents out there that have kids that are looking at being in the entertainment industry, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Fil Marc, do you want to wrap it up with some additional thoughts? Sorry, my bad.
A few years ago, I was at DreamWorks Animation, and every year we did an evaluation, and they asked me what my goals were. And I said I wanted to be a director, and they would tell me that I'm not ready to be a director. And after I wrapped up my time there, my next job was I was a director. Yeah. So I think what fuels me is people telling me what I can't do. And now I'm a director.
Now you're a director you work on Rick and Morty.
I'm a Rick and Morty director. I worked on a show called Star Trek Lower Decks. Mm-hmm. And that came full circle to me because I grew up not seeing myself on TV. And on that show, there's a Filipino character on it, and it's voiced by Eugene Cordero, a Filipino actor. So I'm a Filipino artist drawing a Filipino character voiced by a Filipino actor, and I felt like I reached a moment in my life where it all came full circle.
That's amazing.
That is amazing, and we're seeing a lot more representation now in that industry with, like Anthony Francisco, right, who created Groot to be mirrored and mimicked after his 16-year-old son, like things like that. You now creating this new, well, we can't speak about it, but there's something that's going to be coming out soon, you guys. So look out for his name, so you can see some of that.
I worked on a project in 2022 for Marvel Studios, and it'll come out in 2025.
Yes. And last plugs, guys. Erock.
I'm on your radio every Saturday night from 10 to 1, I think. Yeah, 10 to 1 on Real 103.9 here in Vegas and Real 92.3 out in Los Angeles. So, and a couple of stations around the country. Plus, I play various towel group venues. If you're old enough, you can go. If not, so just wait until you're 21.
Fake IDs.
No.
Okay. You know what? That's what I remember. So how about you, Ronnie? Talking about being 17, breaking in a club. No, I'm just kidding. Any last words?
Yeah, come check out District Arts. It's a dance through here.
Bring your kids.
Bring your kids. It's on Fort Apache and Tropicana.
Yes.
That's all.
And last but not least, you can find all of them on social media. So once again, big round of applause, everyone, for our guests, for our creative spaces.